Hi, and welcome to Chain Reactions, a weekly live stream from Myosin.xyz, the leading global marketing network, and hosted by yours truly, Blake, and my co-host, Polina. Tune in each week as we jam on the latest happenings in the wild and wonderful world of Web3. We're live on unlonely.app every Wednesday, 12 p.m. Eastern, and release the pod every following week on Tuesdays. Now, let's talk Chain Reactions. All right. Well, let's get into it, y'all. So number one, welcome to Chain Reactions. This is our weekly live stream here at Myosin, where we bring on founders, heads of marketing, and general leadership teams at some of the best projects within the Web3 space. And really excited to bring on Carol today, talk all about OX and Matcha. So welcome, Carol. How you doing?
Welcome. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
As always. And actually, very fitting today. I'm a matcha and espresso guy. So today I was like, well, today we're doing some matcha. So we're ready to go.
I love that. Very
on brand.
On brand.
Jinx. Awesome.
Yeah, Polina, take it away.
Yeah, to kick us off, I think it would be really great, to hear from you, Carol, sort of like, what do you do? How did you come into crypto generally, and how do you come to lead marketing at 0x and Matcha?
Yeah, of course. Well, I'm Carol. Nice to meet everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and talk a little bit about Web3 marketing and hopefully give some good insights to folks listening. My story, I'm actually from Brazil, and I've lived in a bunch of places, and now I live in Switzerland. Most of my team at 0x is based in the US. I would say maybe like 70% of the team, and we're remote distributed. I'm lucky enough to meet them once in a while for the events and conferences and offsites that we do. Where do I start? Before I joined Web3, I was in FinTech for multiple years. And I would say that's where I learned most of my modern marketing background. Before FinTech, I was in a large company that just did marketing in all the bad ways, I would say. Not being very authentic and outsourcing a lot of the things and not really like inheriting everything. But when I moved on to FinTech, I learned just how modern marketing should be. And then the evolution of that since I joined Web3 has been really fun to learn while doing. I know we're going to get into that, but there's a lot of differences between different industries and how each space works for marketing. Before I joined 0x, I've been here 2 years already. I used to work at another crypto project, and we were actually one of 0x's customers. And during my interactions with the team, we did a case study together, coordinate the announcement. And I was really impressed by the team that I met, the marketing team, but also product, the technical team. And I thought, well, when I wrap up my time at this current project, this would be a team that I would be interested in joining. And I really admire the culture, the company, the product. So that's how it ended up happening. It was the right time. I spoke to the team, and there was actually an opportunity. The interesting thing is that when I first interviewed, I was interviewing for a PMM role for Matcha. I also know we're going to get into it, but we have two brands, right? 0x and Matcha, and I was supposed to do just PMM for Matcha. But classic startup, classic Web3, things change. People leave, the team org structure changes, and there's different needs. So in a short amount of time when I joined, I saw the opportunity to help lead the team. And I also had that experience already. So I went for it. When we see an opportunity in the space, I always say that we need to rise above and grab it, make it happen. If you can do that, then you can accelerate your career. So this is what happened to me.
Oh, Polina, you muted.
Polina, you muted. Like,
sorry.
Oh, I can see you now. Okay, I think your screen was frozen.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, how long have you been now in this role of head of marketing for both 0x and Matcha?
Head of marketing, it's pretty recent. The title itself, it's been maybe like a month or two, but I've been leading the whole team for the past 2 years. So I recently got the change in title and everything. Thank you.
Always fun.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
So in 60 seconds, what is 0x, and then sort of what is Matcha? Your best sort of pitch.
Yes, let's do that. Well, 0x has been around since 2017. Our founders, Will and Amir, they're OGs in the space, and basically 0x builds APIs that help builders embed swaps into an application. This is what we do. So an easy way to explain. Do you guys use a wallet? Which
Of course.
I don't know if you're allowed
No.
to.
Yeah.
Okay, which one do you use? Give me an
I love
example.
Zerion. Zerion's my personal
Zerion.
top.
Zerion,
Yeah.
Phantom.
Phantom.
Yeah, and Phantom.
Okay.
Zerion and Phantom are probably the top two.
Okay, great.
Mhm.
Great names. So I'm sure you know, but inside your wallet, there's a swap functionality, right?
Yeah.
And that swap is actually powered by 0x. So this is what I mean about embedding swaps in wallets. For example, when teams need to create the swap functionality there, instead of building all of the building blocks and the technology for that, they can use the 0x APIs and immediately launch on 13 different chains and already give users access to all the tokens in the space. So wallets is usually a great example because everybody uses it. But there's other use cases, other segments, other applications that also use 0x.
I'm sure you guys are thinking a lot about agents now, right? It's the hot meta. Everyone's on it, right?
Yeah.
MCPs.
Am I able to share my screen to show
I think
the
so.
website? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we love a good screen share. There should be the share button right next to the leave button. So don't leave, but share.
Is this working?
Yes.
Can you see it?
Okay.
Yeah, we see it great.
So this is the 0x website. It's 0x.org. As you can see, you can embed the swaps in your smart wallet, in your on-chain app, in your portfolio tracker, in your AI agent platform, DAO tooling. So it's really a building block so that builders in the space that are innovating, creating new use cases can just use our APIs and embed swaps into whatever they're building. And yeah, I'm not going to go over the entire website, but if you click up here on the case study button, you can see a few examples. And Blake, you were talking about AI agents. This is our latest case study that we just launched with Moxie. So they're basically building AI agent for automated trading, and they use the 0x APIs under the hood for the swap functionality. Yeah.
Let's go. I love it.
Yeah,
love it.
there you go.
That's actually something I'm in my spare time. Quick side rant is, obviously vibe coding has been a big thing lately. And so I've been vibe coding. I don't know if you saw, but on Twitter, there was this crypto hedge fund GitHub repo that went out. And so, or it was a hedge fund, like an AI hedge fund repo. And so I'm like, why can't we do that for crypto? So I've just been vibe coding this crypto hedge fund on the side. And so now I'm like, maybe that's where, because I need to figure out the swap functionality actually for like how these agents are actually going to trade. So good to know.
Yeah, well, there you go. Go check out the case studies. You can go on this one. It might inspire you. There's a bunch of others. Trust Wallet, Liquify is also an interesting use case. I will let you entertain yourself after our call.
I love it. And
what about Matcha?
Matcha. We want to hear about Matcha as well, right?
Great. Okay, so Matcha, we're of course using the APIs that we built on the 0x side of things, but Matcha is for users that want to connect their wallet and trade. So Matcha is basically the user-facing side of our business. And we use the same technology. We use the 0x APIs. And so in a nutshell, 0x and Matcha are like two sides of the same coin. The technology we've built is aggregation for the DEX space in multiple different chains. On one side, on the 0x side, we package it into APIs that developers can use. And on the other side, we package it into a user-facing application that is simple, easy, convenient, so that users can just plug in and trade, I should say. Yeah. And as I was showing the 0x website, let me show what Matcha looks like if you are not aware of it. Can you see this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Matcha.xyz, you land here at the top. You can see trading tokens. You can select a chain, the recent trades on Matcha, popular tokens, really interesting content about our products here on the Matcha blog. And if I can give you an example, let's go here. If you can click on this token page,
Yeah.
virtual. At the top here, Matcha, we recently launched a couple of features that allow or help users get avoid malicious tokens. I think we've all fallen victim
Yeah.
to just trading a token and not really not being intentional about it, not really doing the proper research, not knowing the liquidity, and then you trade a little bit more than what you should, and all of those issues. So we introduced a couple of features here. The trading view is also a new feature. Yeah, so you can just come in and trade anything that you want. Let me force a large trade here. I don't have this in my wallet. But this is a really cool functionality. So because we aggregate all the routes in the background, when you have a large trade, Matcha splits your trade into multiple routes so that you get the best price at the end. If it's a smaller amount, this is probably not going to happen. But when it's a larger amount or a trading pair that doesn't have that much liquidity, you can see like really cool routing diagrams. And this is essentially how things work in the background.
That's
Yeah.
cool. I really like that visualization.
Yeah, thank you.
Like I saw a tweet recently that you mentioned the blog, and it immediately made me think about the SEO game for Matcha must be ruthless because you can never rank for Matcha. Pretty much.
Oh, you would be surprised. There was a a recent post online about a couple of people that saw us in Denver, and they were looking up actual matcha tea on Google, but everything that they saw was just matcha, the Dex aggregator, our app. So there was a viral video going around of people saying, "I just wanted to buy some ceremonial matcha," and now like there's like bridging and trading,
Oh,
and
that's a
this
great problem. Yeah.
there we go. There we
Santa
go.
is working.
It is working.
I wanted to dig into marketing a little bit because, you have two products that you are in charge of for marketing and very different. One is more B2B, one is more B2C. Like, what's your sort of playbook, aka approach to both? And you're one person, so how do you allocate the time for all of that?
Great question. I am one person, but I don't do everything on my own. I have a fabulous team that I'm really lucky to work with, and we're basically split into two separate squads. One squad focuses more on matcha. The other squad is more focused on 0x. There are a couple of people that kind of have a hybrid role, like me or our marketing designer. He has to serve both sides. But for the most part, people are focused on their product. If you have a lot of context switching, we had the setup before 2 years ago, and it was not very productive. It didn't allow people to really go deep into the product and the strategy of things. So we do have two separate squads. And Paulina, as you were saying, the marketing for B2B and a B2C product is really different. The type of materials you create, the type of content, you can be talking about the same feature. You can be talking about gasless, but you're going to talk about it in two completely different ways. And as you know, we also have two completely separate brands: the logo, the color palette, the tone of voice. Just everything is different. And essentially we have two different business models, and we don't really put one above the other. I would say it's pretty like 50-50 in terms of effort and resources. But you're absolutely right that the tactics, the strategy, the thinking needs to be different. So for 0x, the sales cycle for a B2B product is usually much longer. If it's a small up and coming team just getting started, wanting to maybe like play with the APIs, they can self-serve. It's something that happens maybe in a week between the first stumbling upon the website and implementing it. But when you're talking about a Coinbase wallet, they of course don't make that decision in a week. It takes months, 6 months, perhaps even
A year longer.
yeah. I hope not.
B2B sales cycles take some time for sure.
Yeah, and I know the Coinbase wallet teams, they are definitely not slow, and they did not take a year, but you get my point. It could take up to a year depending on like the layers of approvals and everything. So for B2B marketing, you really need to help everyone that is involved in that buy decision to make the decision. So you need to create different materials for the developers, for the PMs, for the finance person who's going to approve and find out how the product works. The PM who is probably trying to increase retention, increase time spent into their app, or turn on monetization features. And the whole marketing strategy is around helping our customers make that decision, and once they do that, helping them implement as soon as possible. So the types of content is much deeper. I was showing in the beginning of our call the case studies. For example, you need to go in depth. It's much longer. You need to provide real data and what is the return that these customers got after implementing this. And really showcasing the innovation and the new use cases that builders are building our APIs on.
Real quick, before we dive too deep into the marketing side of things, I actually want to kind of rewind just a little bit, and would love to kind of hear a bit more. I love to hear the stories behind, because it's such a fast-moving space, right? And would love to kind of hear the story behind how and why, I guess, OX also launched Matcha, right? Like, was because I think, and we see this often within the industry, I feel like, where you have kind of like infra players, and then you want people to build on top, but then you're like, you know what? Like, why don't we just build it? So was that the case? Was there a different situation? We'll love to better understand like how it all came about, right? Like, what was that origin story? And then yes, I do want to let's dive deep into the marketing side of things as well. But yeah.
So the origin story, like you're right, we started just with the 0x side of things. Matcha, the user-facing side, that didn't exist when we first launched. And at some point, I believe that was 2020, the team launched Matcha. And to your point, I wasn't here when this decision was made, just to clarify. But we really, up until now, I'm sure we're going to continue seeing this in the future. There is a lot of growth opportunity on both business models. So on the B2B side, we want to be the backbone, the foundational API that every builder in this space uses to create their apps, create their innovative project. And you can easily imagine how that scales. And also let me give an example. So for example, recently with AI agents or social-fi, which are two growing trends, if we can get, let's say, one small customer that has 100 users, but then that entire segment takes off in the next 5 years, we already won this customer, but the fact that they are growing, we grow with them. So the scalability, the volume opportunity on the API side is huge. And you very often only have to make one sale. You sell to one customer, and then if that one customer grows, you grow with them. So it's much more on a volume side. But when you look at Matcha, it's a different game. Yes, of course, we know the space is going to grow. We're going to have more traders, and we're going to grow as well. But you consistently need to make sure that that you're working on the retention there, so that these users are still coming to Matcha. And also we can add more, how do I put this? Because it's an app that we own the front end, we can create other features and add even more value to our users beyond just the swap functionality. So for Matcha, for example, I was showing you folks the features to help users get protected from malicious tokens. That is something that we have control of and that users want, especially these days. But we don't have control of how our customers are going to implement our APIs. So on the Matcha side, we have much more control of the relationship with our users. And that also creates opportunities for growth, for retention, for revenue streams. So space is still early. There's room for growth, and there's opportunity on both sides. And
lots of opportunity. Why not seize it?
That's it. That's it. Stopping one side would have been probably too early in the game. We all know Web3 is still early, and opportunity on both.
So let's dive into that, right? Because I'd love to learn more. I think as Pauline was getting into it before, sorry, I kind of rewound it a bit, but like now let's get into the marketing side of things, right? Which is better understanding like how do you think about this? Because as you said, you have multiple teams, you have two totally different business models. It's kind of really up to us, I guess, on which one we want to focus on, right?
Mhm.
But I think consumer tends to be more fun, so we'd love to maybe dive a bit into matcha, right? And I think Polina was doing some deep research in terms of like how you guys have been handling it, and I think one of the things we noticed, for example, was you guys don't have a Discord or a Telegram community right off the bat, which is very, I guess, in this space, pretty unusual for any consumer-facing brand. So we'd love to better understand, why, and then how you guys are thinking about things, or where does the community live? How are you building a community? What's the main? And then it looks like Polina maybe had something to add.
Yeah, and one more thing to add, another differentiator is you seem to be heavily focused on SEO for both brands, but also a newsletter for Matcha, which I subscribe to do some digging. And so far, I really love the design, that it's very clean, very easily, like the copy is very nice and concise. So yeah, to dig into it a little bit, how does the funnel look like for Matcha, like for standing out and then converting the users to actually use that?
Yeah. Okay. There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's move gears onto Matcha, our user-facing app. In case you're listening, you don't know Matcha.xyz, go check it out. I would say you really have to start from first principles, understanding who are your users, what do they care about. We need to be ruthless about it. In all honesty, I think I can be even more ruthless than I have been. Focus is usually a good thing.
It's always so hard, especially in this space.
Yes. So I will say I'm partially guilty of that, but I know we need to do it, and I also have a few plans in the future to narrow even further. And you start from there. So if whoever's listening is starting in a new place or trying to rethink the strategy, just go back to first principles and think about who your users are, what they care about. Look at a competition, what are the things that they're doing, and try to find gaps. What are ways that you can really stand out that no one else is owning? What is a color? What is a strategy? What is a channel that you can own that people are not owning yet? And to Paulina's point, marketing, especially in Web3, we need to be really close to the product so that you really understand the funnel and the metrics that you're moving on the product. And with marketing, I will say it would be my dream to be able to track everything, but it's just not possible in the reality.
Yeah.
Right?
We've
You
had
go
this
to an
discussion
event.
before with whether it's analytics, attribution. It's kind of a mess right now. And you're about to talk about events, right? Like how do
Yeah.
you bring that all together?
How to
Sorry,
bring it all
back to you.
together. And then also, what if someone starts a new wallet? Then you lose the tracking completely.
Right.
Yeah, you don't know if it's the same person. So it's difficult, if I'm being honest, to look at the entire funnel. My advice would be to get really close to the product team and try to have the exact same goals or synergies. At least the marketing goals need to go hand in hand with the goals that the product team has. This is my suggestion. And a couple of other things that Paulina was saying. SEO. I will say we have a few. We've done SEO. We have put effort and resources into it. We've seen some results on, let's say, MEV, which is a topic that we own, and product wise, we're also doing really well. How to protect yourself from sandwich attacks. There's a lot of keywords on product education or education about the space that we managed to own. But I will say the conversion from that to becoming a user is not that clear, and
Right.
It's not proven either. I will say this is our reality. It's not necessarily the reality everywhere. So,
Yeah.
Paulina, in your research, when you were looking at it, you probably noticed that the blog is it's separate from the main website. We do link it on the homepage and at the bottom of the token pages, but it's not really embedded into the user experience.
Mm-hmm.
I think if we had a way to use content to move users further down the funnel in a more qualified way, this would be like a better use of the content. And to the point of SEO, look, before I joined Web3, one of the biggest projects I did for a digital bank was building their like inbound strategy, and it worked amazingly well. It was a huge growth machine. Great. This was maybe, I don't know, 7 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
The search space has changed completely, and for Web3 is completely different. But more recently with ChatGPT and Perplexity and like other search engines,
Oh yeah.
it just doesn't work the same way. The algorithm is different. Doesn't work the same way. In like the game with SEO, it's tough. Like so many players are doing it, and yes, you can rank for things that you have for leadership on. Your product stands out, but actually turning that into conversion, it's also another game. So
Mm-hmm.
unless you really aligned the SEO strategy between marketing and the product team,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the best channel to focus all the efforts on. We've seen some
So
success, but I wouldn't
so
say it's the same bullet.
I'd love to follow
Well,
up on this, right? Which is we're talking about the matcha user, we're talking about channels. So I guess following up on that, two questions, which is so who is your like general like who is the average matcha user? Who are you guys targeting, right? Is it the degen? Is it the casual, person who just wants to do swaps? There's many different demographics. I see you guys, you guys support a lot of different chains too. So are you
Mhm.
guys doing collaborations with specific communities within those ecosystems? And then there's a question about like channel strategy, right? Like what
Yeah.
have been the most effective places for you? But I know those are two big questions in themselves. So maybe we focus on the first and we can keep going from there.
Yeah. So the first target audience, that is such an interesting question. And I ask myself that question sometimes. Like, should I, and again, not just marketing, product, the whole team, should we drop one section and just look at a specific slice? Because for Matcha, as I was showing on the website, it's a beautiful app, simple, it's really smooth. If I don't know if you managed to trade on Matcha, but it's the smoothest swap experience in Web3. It's so convenient. It just works. It works beautifully. So it has a beautiful design, beautiful UX. But underneath that, there is such a powerful swap machine with machine learning algorithms, smart routing, amazing trade execution. If you compare Match to other players in the space, it's where you get the best pricing because of that really hardcore, complex technology that is hidden under the beautiful and simple design. I'm explaining this because we have a group of users that are more of the ascending side. They don't want to deal with a lot of complexity. They want Matcha to take care of a lot of that complexity. So they come to us for the simplicity, the amazing user experience. They get a good value for their tokens. And it's a straightforward app that they know it's gonna work. It just works. So that's one segment. We do have, let's say, like half of our users are like that. But we also have users that have been in the space since 2017, are super experienced. They know how to connect their own RPCs, and they know everything about MEV. They know how to protect themselves. And they're whales. They're trading huge amounts, and they want to make sure that their trade goes through, doesn't revert, lands on the wallet with the best trade execution, no price impact. That user is much more advanced. We also have those users on Matcha because of the powerful technology. So it's an interesting user base. Yeah, part of the user base is attracted by the application layer, and the other half, I would say, of the user base is attracted by the technology sitting underneath that layer. So it's
So
definitely a challenge. It's speaking to all the audiences.
when you have those intrusive thoughts about dropping or focusing on one audience, which one is it?
These two,
Just
because
focus a little more, maybe. Yeah, if you
Yeah.
wanted to.
yeah, focus more. Or to your point, how can we fine tune our channel strategy to be really
Yeah.
optimized for whatever
One or
audience
the other.
better suited there? Yeah. So I think just looking at the channel in specific, maybe on one channel we can drop one of the audiences, but I wouldn't drop out of the entire strategy.
Mhm.
Yeah. I
So
don't
So
know.
we
that's
talked a bit about the SEO as a channel, right? The site, the blog. What are other channels in this game, in this chess game of marketing?
We tried so many things. We've tried ads in the past. I would say those the programmatic ads were really tough.
we're not generally that bullish on crypto ads.
Yeah, both me and Blake are
Sorry.
like,
Yeah, we're
yes.
like,
Yeah,
we don't do a
I
lot of
think
that.
they can serve a purpose depending on what you
Yep.
need. Like if you have a launch and you have the budget, but if you know how to do it, it could help just raise the awareness of your announcement. But I
Yeah.
wouldn't use it as an always on growth channel.
Yeah.
Yeah, ads events has been a good channel for us, raising the awareness, raising the brand strength as well, of both Matcha and
Yeah.
0x. And I we know that events as a channel brings users in the long run, but it's not something that you can see like the next
It's
day.
so hard to track
And
ROI.
you can't
Yeah.
exactly like you can't really track that person that came to your booth or just saw your booth from far away and then ended
Yeah.
up checking Matcha out on the website and trading there a while later. But events has been a good channel for us. Social is
Yeah.
huge. And one of the things that I think we've done well in the past is to be an early DEX and early player on the Warpcast, on the Farcaster ecosystem. So we created our profile on Warpcast in the early days, even before it
Nice.
was open to the whole space. And we've been genuinely part of that community for well since the beginning, and we really have grown with that community in an organic and authentic way. It's not and the community always knows if you're not there with them in the trenches and
Yeah.
you didn't see the ups and downs, you didn't see the innovation, the new use cases,
Yeah.
and you just come in now because now it's grown, now it's large, now it's interest, now there's users,
Yeah.
then it's much harder to make that move. And yeah,
I like that.
I would,
So that's
yeah.
actually interesting because I was an early, I'm like, my FID is like 3,600 or something. It was
Hmm.
under 10K, but I'm a very, just honestly and transparently speaking, like I may have been early, but I'm not that active because my brain is scattered across 50 different places.
Yeah.
But that's really cool. So understanding that you guys are doing a lot on Warpcast, would love to double down on that because I think Warpcast offers so much interesting. It's a really unique playground, right, for you to do interesting types of marketing activation. Curious if you guys have been playing around with unique frames, or now they have like an app store I saw the other day, right, where you can kind of like, I think it's just a frame app store if I'm not mistaken, but like, what kind of stuff have you guys been doing on Warpcast? Anything interesting that we can dive deeper into or point to? I'm curious.
Yeah. So when Frames launched, when was this? I'm a bit lost in time. I think it was a year ago, no? Like
I want to
February or
say it was
March.
Something like
like,
that. A year and a
yeah,
half, maybe.
I think it was a year. Yeah, like I think I remember it like November 23. I don't know, but past year and a half, somewhere in
A
that
year,
range. Yeah.
year and a half. Yeah. Okay. So when they were first launched, we immediately wanted to experiment with that, especially us being
Yeah.
a swap app, right? A place for you to come in and do swaps. So we had a few frames, and we partnered with some of the prominent communities there. We partnered with DGen
Yeah.
to do a frames campaign with them. We're really close to the DGen team, and we've just done an interview with them at ETH Denver, and we've kept in touch with them since then. Oxy also, we did a bunch of partnerships with them on the frame side, but just partnering with the community, I would say. It has been a focus a bit more recently. So moving away from the frames moment a year and a half ago, more recently with Clanker, for example, which is an AI agent on Firecaster, and you can create a token just by casting on Warpcast. And we also partnered with the Clanker team. And so when you create a new token using Clanker, you immediately, a new page is created for that token immediately. And in that page, they needed a swap. So we have the Matcha iframe on the Clanker page.
Nice.
So every token created is there. And we've also done partnerships with the Clanker community in Denver. I'm not sure if you guys saw, but we had a tea house, which was a matcha 0x and matcha house, and we hosted a few community meetups, community events, and one of those was with the Clanker team. So the whole Clanker community came over to our house, and it was great. It was a jam. We learned so many things about their future plans. We managed to talk about product, things that they need. And just talk about overall growing the Firecaster ecosystem. So I would say that connection with the Clanker team is one of the more recent examples of things that we've done on Warpcast. Yeah. On an interesting point, and we have the duality of Matcha and 0x,
right?
And we've been, as I was saying, we've been in the Firecast ecosystem for a while now, and I'm not sure if you saw, but Warpcast recently launched a wallet inside their app.
Warpcast native wallet. Yeah, are you guys part of that too?
They launched with the 0x APIs. So if you're swapping in the Warpcast wallet, you're using 0x. Yeah.
So experiencing Matcha is kind of part of the sales cycle for 0x for B2B side of things, isn't it?
Yeah. And Paulina, on the notes that you shared ahead of the interview, one thing that I wanted to touch on, I think it's a good time now, was like, okay, so different audiences and 0x and Matcha, B2B, B2C, these are different people. Yes and no.
Yeah.
It can be different people, but more and more, I notice that it's perhaps the same people doing a different job to be done. Sometimes I'm wearing my own like individual hat and I need to make a personal trade and I go to Matcha. But I can also be a builder. I can also be someone working on a team, launching a new AI agent or a SocialFi app, and I need to add swaps in my app. And if I already trade on Matcha and I know the price is good, trade execution is amazing, technologies is that routing technology is fantastic, the trades land like that, there's no reverts. I want to add this to my app. How do I get this technology and put there? So there is an overlap of the people that trade on Matcha, but also use the APIs to build their products. A lot of the users in the space are builders and vice versa. Yes, there is a different strategy. The content is different, but we also see the overlap between the Matcha users and the 0x builders. And the whole example of Warpcast wallet, users using Matcha, frames, Clanker, it all goes hand in hand.
And Moxie too, right? Because the case study is new, but I imagine there was first this Farcaster thing going on, and only then.
Yes. So for Moxie, we first partnered with them on the Matcha side with frames. Then they implemented the 0x APIs for the automated trading agents that they created. Moxie has a bunch of different verticals within the Moxie product, and we've been partnering with them at every innovation that they created.
That's cool. So what's the story? You have vibrant community, what it seems like. The tea house was such a great initiative, and like the way you guys do content, very hands-on, very like a lot of video heavy, but also casual enough to like be able to kind of associate yourself to this community culture of Matcha. Amazing merch. The scarves are great. They were all over my feed. Where does the community live? You don't have Discord, you don't have Telegram. Is it just X and Farcaster? Why?
That is an interesting question. We do have a Discord, and we had a Telegram before. But the reality is, if you really want to make those channels work in the right way and avoid any like malicious actors,
Yep.
you need to monitor. You need to curate
Yep.
it.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of effort, and at the end of the day, we needed to be ruthless with the priorities that we were going to choose in terms of channels and social and where we were going to be managing that closely. So the Telegram channel migrated into Discord. We do have the Discord still there, but it's not super active.
Yep.
It's not the main. Currently, it's not the main channel for us.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what I'm hearing right now is that WordCast
Let me
is.
ask you, what do you think? Do you think we should reignite that and put more effort on Discord? Do you have any thoughts?
It is. I mean, it is a lot of effort. So if there are resources, I think it would be a great channel to build that, community culture more in depth and really, work alongside making Matcha better with power users, get more power users, establish more of a close knit connections with the users themselves directly. It is a lot of effort, and I actually didn't know that you have a Discord because it's not linked anywhere, so it's very much on the down low. So yeah, I think if there are resources, there's definitely a way to like play around with them. But if you are going heavy already on Farcast or X, maybe there's like some sort of LinkedIn also involved into the mix.
Yeah.
I think stick to your strengths.
Just
Yeah.
adding my 2 cents there. Like, yeah, I think Discord could work, and there are pros and cons, obviously. But I think what has stuck out to me in this conversation is that because you guys were early on Warpcast, because you guys are literally, one half of the company is basically integrating the Farcaster wallet. Like, if I were in your shoes, I'd just double down on that, right? And be like, how do we really experiment and continue to just dominate that ecosystem? And then once you feel like maybe that's been tapped out and you've kind of hit the cap, which hopefully you never do, because ideally Warpcast just keeps growing forever, although TBD, right? You don't put all your bets on one horse. Then I would consider Discord and some of these other more traditional channels, I guess. But do like a big campaign around it. I think there's so much rich like opportunities for like creative campaigns because of like just the fun branding of Matcha. Like as you did with the tea house in Denver, I would just keep playing around with that and figure out like, how do you create that shared identity, right, for people who are like big stands, in the way that like, how do you identify someone who's like really a big Matcha fan, right?
Yeah. And I mean, to your point, also, Discord is very customizable, and there are certain, threats and scams and all of that. Like, it's at the end of the day, it's crypto. Like, you kind of have to deal with that sometimes. But I feel like the community culture for Matcha is quite visible even through X already. So I can only imagine how that could, Discord could facilitate those connections to be even deeper. Perhaps there's, you already have power users, you already have people who are very excited about the product. So, if there's sort of like any ambassador level program involved into it, that would be more of a Telegram Discord situation rather than X or anything else, right? So
Yeah, I think you're right. It depends on the activities and the initiatives that we have going, and also to Blake's point, it depends on how much resources you have and what priorities you want to choose. And if we could, we would manage and maintain all of these channels, but at one point we had to make a call. And I also think it's best probably like not to pretend you support a certain channel and then you actually don't, because then people can go there and get frustrated,
Because like, why is no one responding? And it's like, well, we don't really have anyone to respond to you. So,
So I also believe in the transparency and just being fair to users. So
I think here should be a shameless plug for Myosin and be like, we can help you. But I mean, what I wanted to touch base on also is the newsletter. Is that big of an, like, because I don't see that many from like brands necessarily. And when I was kind of, going around Matcha, and I saw it has quite a prominent space, sort of like through blogs and things like that. So I subscribed to see what's going on there. And I'm curious how, would you recommend this as a channel to other marketers, or it's more of a download for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the newsletter is really good at keeping in touch with your existing user base, and making sure that they are aware of announcements, changes, new features, any new functionality. So it's more related to the product itself and also product education. For example, on Matcha, we have market orders, but we also have limit orders, and not everybody knows how to use it. So you might see that we launched limit orders on a certain chain, but as a user I might not really understand how that is for me or how I can use that feature to my favor. And then the newsletter is a space that, because of the format and because it's somebody had to give me their email, right? So
Yeah.
there is already one step further in terms of interest. It allows us to just be a bit more complete when you're explaining a feature and how somebody can
Yeah.
use it. So I would say the newsletter works for a certain part of your strategy. It's more for inside the funnel than the outside of the funnel when you've already
Mm-hmm.
converted somebody or
Staying top of mind, nudging people, because even on socials, right? Whether you're Warpcast X, whatever it is, like, there's so much noise, and it's
yeah.
You're also at the mercy of algorithms. So
Yes.
yeah. I mean,
And
newsletter
today,
is your
right
own
now,
channel.
yeah,
yes.
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
But in like X or Warpcast, I love those platforms, but can you really explain in a cast or a thread how you can use limit orders to improve your
Yeah.
trading skills? It's
No,
much harder,
you can, but
because of the
it's
format. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And then
Yeah.
it gets
You
lost.
should do weekly live streams like we do. Just be like Matcha weekly. Like
Yeah,
bring
I
on
actually
traders.
I actually spoke to the team about that, and we didn't really take it off the plans, but do want to do more live streams and bring. I wanted to bring users. They If they don't want to
Yes.
dox themselves, they can just put another handle,
Yeah, just
whatever
put on
like
a
NFT they have.
PFP.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 and then
I
just
think
tell us.
we're. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it's always interesting to hear user stories, and I
Yeah.
usually get that when I go to events. But online, it's a bit more difficult to really hear those stories.
And I think that's
Mm.
something we're starting to see more and more on at least X. I don't think Warpcast quite as much yet, but I don't think I wouldn't like say it won't happen. But it's probably why we do this and we've been doing this what was formerly a podcast, now a live stream and a podcast. We've been doing this for about 3 years now. And I feel like when we started this a couple of years ago, there we were one of the very few people doing it. But I have noticed in the past year, video content is starting to pop off. And we all know, like, whether it's Facebook ads in Web 2 or whether it's X streams, like, people like video, right? Like, you get a
Yeah,
lot more impressions, you get a lot more interest. As you said, like, it's a lot easier to listen to Carol explain limit orders or like put a screen share rather than read a whole thread because
yeah,
nobody reads.
yeah,
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 People just bookmark for later and then never come back to it.
that's how it
yeah,
At
goes.
least that's what I do.
Yeah.
yeah. And
um,
I really think there would be a huge opportunity if product and marketing could hold hands on product education and be able to surface the right content at the right time in app.
Yeah.
that
Well,
would
you guys should
be
think
a
about
dream.
this is
Yeah.
something we've talked to different ecosystems and teams on, and nobody's quite taken that swing yet. But I'll just share some insight / alpha, I guess, with the whole world right now, which is I think there's a really big missed opportunity right now with agents, where everyone I feel like who's been building agents for the past year or so, like AIXBT was the number one KOL, right? But really, what is AIXBT? AIXBT, but really just like a trader and
Mhm.
he calls trades, right? And most agents are like that. And most agents, like I talked about, I'm building one myself, right? Like AI, crypto, hedge funds, all that. But I think we have yet to see like a really good kind of like brand community agent where it should be anytime anyone on Workcast or X for you guys or anyone else talks about trading swaps, you should have that alert on and be able to kind of match that against content that you can do. Giving that out for free, but I will say we are thinking about building that. So if anyone wants to build that with us, let me know, because we got a whole team ready to go. But I think whoever does it first it's gonna stand out. So somebody's got to do it. And if you want to do it, let us know. I'm just putting that out into the ether.
We can chat later.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Okay, I think we have a few minutes left, so we would like to move on with our round of rapid fire questions. So without too much thinking, just give us the answer that comes to mind first. So the first one is the most underrated marketing tactic in Web3 right now, in your opinion?
Underrated.
Mm-hmm.
Good merch and word of mouth. I guess those could be connected, but not necessarily.
The learnings from Eat Denver scarves, huh?
Yeah.
Quality merch matters.
Well, the scarves are just the tip of the iceberg. There was a lot of learnings from before the scarves came out.
Another topic, a topic for another podcast: how to do good merch. The second one is the worst advice you've seen being pushed in crypto marketing.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people saying that you really need to pay users or incentivize users financially to use your product. That you have to, like, if you don't do that, you will not go from 0 to 1. And I get there's a lot of farming in our space and people looking for yields and airdrops, which is fair. I think there is a place for that, but if we use it in the wrong way, you really create the wrong incentive, and sometimes it's a bridge that once you cross, you can't really turn back. So I would tell people to just think twice before like going blindlessly on an incentive campaign. It needs to
long-term
make
incentive
sense.
design. Yeah.
Yes. Incentive design needs to be thought through for the long run.
Okay.
On that point, real quick, we had a really good conversation with Fran, who's the CEO at Superfluid, and I think they have some really insightful points on. And I'm not sure if you've already talked to them or if you're friendly with that team, but really cool. Sharp folks. This is a previous episode. Check it out. Happy to connect you guys, because I think their approach to points and airdropping is very unique. And I think it's basically their whole thing is instead of doing it retroactively, it's like think about how it works moving forward, and then points and token have a role to play, and whole other.
It's a streaming reward protocol. So as you do the actions, you get rewarded in real time, or less so than farming points and then hoping to get something after. You can also be streaming salaries, for example. So deals with a lot of like the delays for freelancers, especially in the space. Optimism, for example, is a very big user for Superfluid protocol. So definitely really something to look into. Yeah. Okay. Next one is, what brands, except for the ones that you're working with, you think are crushing it right now in Web3?
Except for what? For
0x or Matcha.
You can't show your own wares since we just did that.
I'm not going to show 0x or Matcha at this time. I do think that the team is doing a good job. Brands that are crushing it. I think Base is doing a great job since day one. And if you think about it, how many chains do you have out there that stayed relevant and maintained and really created a strong brand positioning and just brand strength as a whole? I think Base has done a really good job there. Phantom also, I love their brand. Their product is great, but the combination of product and brand, it's really powerful. And their Ghost makes it really easy to make so many things about Phantom. I like their mascot approach and just how they apply the brand. Podcaster in an interesting way, they created a brand without doing marketing. Their brand was created just by the product and the community that the product fostered. So I think that's an interesting one. kind of on the opposite side. Like not a lot of efforts, not a lot of focus on the brand itself, but still, what they managed to create organically is impressive.
True.
Community-led growth. Yeah.
Yeah. And the last one is, looking back, what's your biggest learning as a Web3 marketer?
Biggest
favorite
learning, I think speed.
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 Tell us more.
That's new.
Yes.
I like it. That's a new one.
Our space moves so quickly. I think every space says that they move quickly, but in crypto, it really is true. And the reason why I'm saying speed is, if you don't act with speed, you can have the best strategy, the best plan, the best campaign. But if you don't put it out, there at the right time, you miss the entire opportunity. The narrative has shifted.
Yep.
The product you were dependent on doesn't exist anymore, or something happened there, or there's a new innovation that kills the previous thing you were doing, or, as you were saying, the videos. If you take too long to get going with those, everybody flocks onto that same thing.
Yep.
So yes, strategy is important, but speed to execution is probably even more important. So yeah, I would say that is something that a Web3 marketer needs to be extra vigilant on. Optimize for speed.
Accelerate. Be agile. Keep moving around.
Agreed.
Keep iterating. Yeah, I'm into it. As we kind of wrap up, because I think that was all the rapid fire questions. I realized there's one question we didn't get to ask, which is moving forward. So it's two things, actually. This is your place to show yourself and Matcha and OX. So tell us, what can where can people find you? But actually, I think in coordination with that, the other question is, what's coming up the pipe for you guys? What should people be looking out for? What are the new exciting updates that people can expect in the coming months, quarter, year, however you want to position it? And where can they sign up to stay in touch and learn more?
Yes. Okay. We have a lot planned. And we have some announcements, some product announcements almost out of the oven. So stay tuned well, I can't really share when, but very soon.
Coming soon.
We're announcing some pretty large things that people won't have to choose between one thing or another.
Oh.
Matcha or coffee. As you said, Blake, you don't have to choose between one or the other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean when it's out.
Yeah. Sounds like some alpha. I like it. Yeah.
Yeah, some alpha for sure. And if you want to learn more, you can follow us on socials. So for Matcha, it's Matcha.xyz on Farcaster, on Warpcast, on X, on LinkedIn. Paulina, thanks for noticing. We're trying to grow there. We've seen a couple of brands that have done a good job at creating a following there. So it's a new channel that we created recently. If you want to follow us there, I will be very happy and send you all my hearts. And for 0x, our handle is 0x Project, also on X, on Warpcast, also on LinkedIn. And if you want to follow me, you can go to those profiles that I just mentioned, and you're for sure going to see me interacting, recasting, retweeting. My profile is Carol Yumi 6. Go and give me a follow and say hello. Tell me what part of the interview you found more interesting. So most interesting.
Let's go. And then eventually they'll see you on the live stream that I'm sure you'll set up for users, right, in the coming months.
Yeah, that's it.
Coming soon. I love it. Well, listen, this was a really great conversation, Carol. Really excited and bullish for the future of Matcha and OX and everything you guys are building. And looking forward to, I guess I got to get more active on Warpcast and hop in.
Yeah,
I already followed you.
Go.
I already followed the channel and the account. So now I got to get more active. Yeah.
Good.
That'll be good. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you so much,
Carol.
It was great.
Yeah, and we'll see you online, and we'll see you maybe ECC, I think, probably, or some other conference coming up soon.
I think so.
I love it.
Great to meet you.
Awesome.
Yeah, great
Likewise.
to meet you. Talk to
See you
soon.
around.
All right. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.